again, please. Inshallah, and we always make dua for everyone, the students in my course and the students who are not in my course. Everyone, inshallah, we wish him or her the best of luck tomorrow, بإذن in March trial. Inshallah, to be manageable. I won't say to be easy because يعني it will differ from, it's an adaptive test, but inshallah it's gonna be manageable for everyone, and you will be guided inshallah to the correct answers. Okay. The first advice at the beginning of this session is that you guys should be applying the process of elimination. Please, it's a treasure that you need to make use of, because sometimes the right answers, especially when it comes to hard questions, the right answers are not that clear. They are tricky and might not be that obvious for everyone to understand. So the safest way to get to the right answer, even if you are not able to fully understand it, is to search for the wrong answers and their features. يعني you feel like you see that these answers cannot be the best answers. The ones that can contain extreme words, the ones that contain information that are not there in the text. And I always tell my students, if you cannot prove it, don't choose it. If you cannot prove it, don't choose it. Okay? طيب, the first question here in this file has to do with the vocabulary in context the question. And in vocabulary or word in context the questions, you need to focus on what? Focus on the context clues, okay? The context clues. These context clues can be synonyms or can be antonyms. Synonyms means having the words that have the same meanings. Meaning, words that have the same meanings of the required words, right? To be written in the blanks. And antonyms are opposite words that have opposite meanings. Okay, which ones are to be used? This depends on transitions, tone, part of a speech, and the part of a speech. Okay, the part of a speech of the required word. The blank requires a verb, a noun, an adjective. Type the tone of the sentences in the text. Is the tone positive, negative? Do you have both positive and negative because of certain transitions, like however? And based on all these pieces of information, you will get to know the context clues and the best answer accordingly. Now here, for example, as a member of indigenous photograph, artist, whoever, okay, can what? Her work more broadly than she could without the organization's reach. So I have here a certain positive attitude or tone, more than she could without the organization's reach. This sentence lacks a certain word that I'm not I have no idea about. So let's read the complete sentence in order to find a context clue, either a synonym or an antonym for this word based on the tone and the transitions and the part of speech. As you can see, can, what, her work. Can, after can, I need a verb. Okay, so these are verbs. Okay, can what, do what with her work or to her work more broadly than she could without the organization's reach. Okay, let me read more in order to understand more and find a context clue. Photography editors around the world can search for indigenous photographer members on the organization's website to find images that document and reflect the lives of indigenous communities. Nothing is wrong here. Nothing is negative. I didn't find a transition that can show contradiction or anything. So I have the same tone, right? So I have the same tone here, positive, and here, positive. So definitely I need a positive word, okay? So when I say she can uh, empty her work more broadly, this doesn't make sense. Empty, containing nothing or not filled. No, this empty, to empty. No, that doesn't make any sense. Promote, which is a very positive word, to support or actively encourage to progress her work more broadly than she could without the organization's reach or help. Okay, so this can make sense. Discover means to find something or someone unexpectedly or in the course of a research. Of course, she will not discover her work. That's her own work. Okay, and more broadly, so discover means that her work wasn't known to her. So letter C and A will be eliminated. That's the process of elimination, which I mean. Alter, of course, you guys must be familiar with this word. Alter has to do with a change, to change or cause to change in character or composition. So of course, she's not gonna change her work, or it doesn't make sense even change her work more broadly than she could without the organization's reach. Here I can see that the website, the organization's website, can help her work reach other people or other other members and so on. This can be, promote can be the best answer. So promote can be the best answer. Yes, Karim. Yes, Karim.
Yes, teacher. Co-host us.
Yes, yes. I was searching for you in the beginning, but you came late, I guess. You joined late.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay. Right. So this is the first thing, and I hope you had an idea, or you reviewed how to approach such questions briefly. I don't want you to be suffering from any mental drainage today. We are only reviewing certain strategies by which you can approach each question type. Okay, this is another question. It seems to be easy, but actually it can confuse some of us. Here, a graph question or quantitative evidence question. And for such a questions, guys, as long as I said evidence, you need to find something that can support or can weaken depending on the question prompt. Here, which choice most effectively uses data from the table to complete the example? So I need to support the example to complete it with this, to be consistent with it. Okay. So studies of the population, I'm gonna ask volunteers to participate, but let me start the session كده. I don't want to waste time. That's why I will ask volunteers, no problem at all. I appreciate the fact that you're raising your hands, guys. Thank you so much. Studies of the population density of cougars, PC, have yielded a range of results, which may in part reflect natural variations. So I have natural variations, okay? I have natural variations in the resources that cougars need to survive, okay? We have, which may in part reflect natural variations in the resources that cougars need to survive. So we want to see the population density of this species, which can be reflected by the availability of certain natural circumstances, okay, that are necessary for them to survive. Type, for example, and this is the example that we need to complete. And when you see that this is the claim or the example that you need to complete, try to focus on the main elements of that example. Like here, the difference. So no similarity, there should be a difference between the maximum population density. So that's another main element you have to focus on. Reported by Russ Clark, and that's reported by David, whoever, et al., may indicate. So I have here one difference between the maximum population density, that's 2, and reported by Russ and David, okay, may indicate. So I'll go back to I'll get to the graph, and I will mark where I have to focus. Okay, here David, okay, and that's Clark. Where is the difference between maximum population? That's minimum. No, I will not look at this. I will care about this part. Maximum density, cougars per 100 square kilometers, which has to do with the density, okay? طيب, guys, remember that the graph will have more information than what you need. Remember that the text might have more information, I mean the part before the claim or the example. It might include more information than what you need, okay? Don't be tricked. Don't be tricked by the extra information included in either the graph or the text. So you have to, that's why I told you to mark the elements that you need to focus on. Here are, I don't care about anything that is related to Peter this year, Wyoming, this one. I don't care about minimum, okay? So this is what I need to care about. This is related to my claim or my example, okay? So that's it. Okay, now the difference, definitely you can see a difference, difference 10 and here 0.72 difference in the maximum density type. Okay, now, and which is greater? Yeah, the one that has to do with David and Utah, and 10.24, not British Columbia, not 7.2. Okay, 7.72. Now let's go and apply the process of elimination, okay? Now, cougar habitat makes up a greater proportion of the overall land area in Utah than in the case in British Columbia. Of course, this can trick us. Yes, definitely, I can admit that this can trick us, because once you see cougar, okay, habitat makes up a greater proportion of the overall land area in Utah than is the case in British Columbia, the point here is that when you return back to the graph, you will find that we have maximum density cougars per 100 square kilometers, right? So here, density has to do with the number of cougars within certain kilometers, within a certain area. But here, when we say cougar habitat makes up a greater proportion of the overall land area, I cannot prove this one. Okay, I cannot prove this part on the what? On the graph. Okay, I cannot prove this part on the graph. Look here, there are more cougars overall, and in case you're confused, keep it. If you're in doubt, don't cross it out. Yani if you are in doubt, if you read choice A and you feel like you're in doubt or you feel like you want to go for it, but you're not sure, don't cross it out because you still have different or 3 more options. There are more cougars overall in both Montana and already I said that I will not focus on anything related to these areas. The cougar habitat in Wyoming, the same thing has to do with this one. Okay. The cougar habitat in British Columbia cannot support as many individuals as can the cougar habitat in Utah. Yes, this is less definitely than this. So here I'm talking about many individuals as in cougar habitat in Utah. Yes, this can be related to cougars, okay? The maximum density means the number of these animals per 100 square kilometers. So if I'm stuck between A and D, and of course, I told you it can be confusing if you didn't notice, okay? This part. You have everything here, and individuals here can be related to the cougars mentioned in the text, but here the proportion of the overall land cannot be proven on the graph. That's why D is the best answer. So by the process of elimination, usually the case is like that. You have two options that can be totally incorrect. And we have a trap answer and a correct answer. A trap answer and a correct answer. Anyone, either a student or a teacher or any anyone who is interested in SAT can be tricked, guys, by the trap answers. Otherwise, everyone or around the world, all the SAT takers around the world can be getting the high scores or the full scores. The College Board tailors the questions very well and very skillfully, okay, so that they can be tricking the takers or the teachers or whoever is working on the SAT field. This question is which quotation from a literary scholar would most directly support the claim in the underlined portion of the text? Here I have, this is considered to be a hard question, honestly speaking. Its language is hard, the structures are hard, the choices are confusing and not clear enough. Let's try to understand this text. Okay, which quotation? First of all, this is a textual evidence question. Okay, textual evidence question. Okay, it tells you which quotation, which finding, which statement, and it has to have either support or weaken, either support or weaken, either support or undermine, okay? Illustrate, undermine, support, any of these words, okay? Just a second, please. I have no idea, ya Karim, why people are calling me or sending messages. Are there people in the waiting room?
There is no waiting room. They can enter.
Yeah, okay. طب anyways, yes, فريدة. Yes يا فريدة. Yes.
Miss, there's one of our friends, her name is Mariam, she's in the waiting room, she can't enter.
That's why I asked Karim. Actually, we didn't activate the waiting room. Okay?
Okay, I'm gonna inform her. Thank you.
Yes, anytime. Yes, Rahaf, how are you, Rahaf?
Hello, I'm okay.
Yes, dear, you wanna read the text?
Yes, sure, okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Scholars cite Men of Maze, the 1949 novel by Guatemalan author Miguel Angel Asturias, as a foundational text of magical realism, the Latin American style of fiction in which anti-realistic plot devices, often borrowed from the folkloric traditions of indigenous and colonial societies in the Americas, are deployed in an otherwise realistic mode of representation typical of the modern novel. This style has exerted a decisive influence on authors around the world, including Orhan Pamuk, whose 2001 novel My Name is Red resembles classical magical realist novels in its juxtaposition of literary realism with folklore, namely that of Turkey.
Yes, dear. Guys, if I ask you whether you fully understood the text, I'm sure that not everyone has fully understood the text. يعني especially if you can see there are many non-essential parts and phrases in between the main subject and the main verb of the text. But at the end of the day, we need to support the claim that is in the underlined portion. The underlined portion is my focus, but as you can see, it is related to the information stated earlier. Okay, يعني when I say this style takes me back. Which style exactly you are talking about? And when I say whose 2001 novel, My Name is Red, resembles, so whose novel? Okay. So we need to read carefully and take notes in case we feel like we have a problem with this type of questions. And many of you guys do not prefer such questions, textual evidence questions. Okay, so let's focus. Scholars cite Men of Maze. They refer to the 1949 novel, which is يعني the 1949 novel by Guatemalan author Miguel Angel Asturias. This is the name of the guy who, composed this novel as a foundational text of magical realism. Like they regarded it as the basis of the magical realism, which is, what is the magical realism? The Latin American style of fiction. Latin American, so it's a combination between Latin and American style of fiction in which anti-realistic plot devices, anti means, the opposite, against the realistic plot devices, okay, not real, okay, plot devices, often borrowed from what? From folkloric traditions. So anything that is not real, not realistic, is related to folklore or folkloric traditions of indigenous, native, or traditional and colonial societies in Americas. Okay, so you see this non-essential part interrupted our main idea, the Latin American style of fiction in which anti-realistic plot devices are deployed, means used effectively. Used effectively. So deployed, don't miss the chance to write the meaning of any unfamiliar word. Used effectively, okay, used effectively in an otherwise realistic mode. So the anti-realistic plot devices are used effectively in a realistic mode of representation typical of the modern novel. So these are يعني characteristics of a typical modern novel. Okay, so anti-realistic plot devices can be used or effectively used in a realistic mode. Okay, is it clear? This style has exerted a decisive influence on authors around the world. So this style of what using anti-realistic plot devices, okay? This has to do with the indigenous or traditions, okay? Folkloric traditions, okay? Deployed in what? In a realistic mode. Okay, right. And it has an influence on authors around the world, including whom? So this author is an example of those authors who were affected by this style of the modern novel. This style has exerted a decisive influence on authors around the world, including this guy, whose novel, what is the name of his novel? My Name is Red, resembles classic magical realist novels. Magical realist. Magical has to do with the anti-realistic plot devices, and realist has to do with the realistic mode novels in its juxtaposition. And juxtaposition is a literary term, guys, you need to know. Juxtaposition, as you can see, means placing two or more things together, often with contrasting effect, like anti-realistic versus realistic. With contrasting effect, it's like putting things side by side, especially if they are very different, and this placement highlights their differences and can create interesting effects of meanings. When you put two different and contrasting elements next to to one another, the differences become clearer. So magical realist novels, in its juxtaposition of literary realism with folklore. Yes, that's the juxtaposition of realism and folklore, namely that of Turkey. Namely that of Turkey because it's what it's given you an example of how this style influenced authors around the world, one of which is that Turkish, author. Okay, now I need to check and go for the process of elimination in order to go for the best answer. Bearing in mind that the text is not clear, and I might not be as a student taking doing the test under the stress of time, I might not be able to understand the text so well. So I will go for the process of elimination, okay? So letter A, although Turkish folklore clearly informs the style and occasionally anti-realistic plot of My Name is Red, the novel also shows the inarguable influence of the magical realist tradition of Latin America. Here, whether I will go for this choice or not, I can read it, I can read it once more, or if I feel that I don't know, I cannot decide, I'll keep it for the time being. But the word juxtaposition shows you that there must be, alteration between what is realistic and what is non-realistic, okay, to show this contrast or difference, right? So although Turkish folklore clearly informs the style and occasionally clearly informs the style, and occasionally anti-realistic plot of My Name is Red. Okay, the novel also shows the inarguable influence of the magical realist tradition of Latin America. So it is focusing here on the realist tradition of Latin America. Okay, magical realist tradition of Latin America. And this one doesn't show the technique of juxtaposition that we're talking about. This is not showing the juxtaposition like the contrasting usage of both together. Okay, so let's go for letter B, but I'll return back to letter A. Okay, I'll return back to letter A. B, the logic of the realist plot of My Name is Red is repeatedly and productively disrupted by the presence of imagery, you see? So here, the logic of realist plot, that's realistic. That's realistic. Repeatedly and productively disrupted, okay, altered by the presence of imagery and situations drawn from Turkish folklore. So if I'm stuck between A and B, like I read A, but I'm not fully aware of what it means, but letter B has to do with the juxtaposition, the technique that was, highlighted here or underlined here. For this, for me, B makes more sense than letter A, because here I have a contradiction, although, and so on. The novel, the main sentence is focusing on, shows the inarguable influence of the magical realist tradition of Latin. So this part doesn't show that there is a juxtaposition between what is realistic and what is non-realistic. So letter A might not be the best answer if compared to letter B. طيب, letter B خلاص, we're done with it. It's likely to be a good answer. Letter C, like many works in the Latin American magical realist tradition, My Name is Red is indebted, يعني مدينة لي, to anti-realistic elements in the folkloric tradition of Turkey. So here I focused on the anti-realistic elements. Where is this juxtaposition? No juxtaposition here. While My Name is Red alternates between realistic and anti-realistic modes of representation. So remember that there is a contrast here. While this is happening, the juxtaposition here is happening, details suggesting the influence of Turkish folklore nevertheless occur throughout the novel. So there is what the essential part is focusing on the Turkish folklore, okay, and is not showing how it contrasts with the realistic thingy. So this main part doesn't show the juxtaposition. يبقى no juxtaposition here, no juxtaposition there, no juxtaposition here in the main sentence, but in the main sentence of letter B, there is a juxtaposition. Like the one technique is disrupted by the other, and as if you are comparing or contrasting them by putting them side by side in order to emphasize or to show the difference. Okay, that's how this very hard, and I'm so upset with the College Board to give such a question in a very limited to be answered within a very limited time for those poor students stressed by the timing and this in this emotional state. I really have pity on some students who especially those who panic when it comes to answering complicated questions. But anyways, guys, regarding this point, no problem at all, no panic at all. Guys, everyone makes mistakes. But as I always tell my students, our role is to reduce the numbers of those mistakes. يعني, as long as we are practicing, as long as we are learning from our mistakes, okay, you know, it's so fine. It's so fine. يعني, instead of making 10 mistakes, try to let them be يعني 4. Okay, so you gained the scores of what you'll be gaining the scores of 6 questions, which can grant you a very high score. يعني, from one trial to the other, try to have a sort of progress, making use of your weaknesses in order not to repeat them or to fall in the same traps. Okay? Don't feel bad when you make mistakes at all, at all. Every single one dealing with the SAT, everyone makes mistakes. It's totally fine. We don't have to panic. Just play it smartly, يعني, in a smart way. All what you need to do is to organize your time. يعني, you know your weaknesses. You always have mistakes with certain types of questions. Okay, let them be at the end. Organize the way you answer. We said that we will start with the writing questions because they are like math questions. Okay, starting from number 15 to number 27, or from 27 up to number 15 or 16. It depends. When you see the word conventions, it's the beginning of the writing questions. You can start by answering them and do your best to save time for the more challenging ones, okay? The more challenging ones, as we said, usually are the inference questions on the top list. The graph questions, if they are hard and long. Graph, dual text questions, of course, dual texts. Okay, and we have also the textual evidence questions. So let these be the last to answer. At least you will be, you will be sure, you will be making sure that you answered most of the questions that can be answered easily and manageably. Granting you a good score. And now you're gonna deal with the more challenging questions, but please apply the process of elimination based on the features of wrong answers. So let's go for this question. This question: information in the text best supports which statement about OFT? Okay, so OFT, what is OFT? You need to know how it is described in the text, and by the process of elimination. If you can't prove it, don't choose it. If you cannot prove it, don't choose it. The information about OFT. So optimal foraging theory. So this is the OFT. Foraging has to do with searching for food, okay? The optimal foraging theory holds that, what does it hold? That animals' foraging behaviors reflect cost-benefit trade-offs that vary by species. So, take care when it comes to the words like vary and different and difference and similar and same, okay? Because they are very, very important, okay? What is, if the text mentions something that varies or differs from something else, or we have varieties, so any answer that shows similarities, will be omitted, will be eliminated immediately, okay? Type here, vary by species. So when it comes to species, this varies, okay? Or these behaviors vary. And with dynamic ecological circumstances, okay? So we have what? The behaviors reflect cost-benefit trade-offs that vary by species and with dynamic ecological circumstances. طبعا trade-offs or cost-benefit means what it will cost the animal to go for a certain behavior, يعني what the price the animal will pay and what the benefits the animal will get, okay, if the animal behaves in a certain way. So these are the benefits and the costs, okay, the costs and the benefits. طيب, one such circumstance is lunar intensity. Okay, so I'm talking when it comes to circumstances that I mentioned here, I only mentioned one circumstance, one only, lunar intensity. But when I mentioned behaviors or species, I said the word vary. Okay, which Rodrigo, whoever found to be negatively associated with foraging by olive grass mice. But okay, nice. So one behavior, one such circumstance is lunar intensity. Lunar intensity. Lunar has to do with what? With the moon. Okay, intensity. Okay, and to be negatively associated with foraging by olive grass. So olive grass doesn't like lunar intensity, okay? Not preferred by what? Olive grass. يعني olive grass doesn't while foraging. Okay, طيب. But there is a shift. But those guys and colleagues found to be positively associated with foraging by mongoose lemurs. Okay, so lunar, the same thing, the same lunar intensity, the same circumstance is preferred or is okay. Okay, I won't say the word preferred, is okay. يعني positively here negatively. I used only the word prefer to show the tone. Positively associated with foraging by mongoose lemurs. Okay. طيب, during foraging, of course, while searching for food. The light of the moon is not preferred by by olive grass, but preferred or is positively associated with foraging by mongoose lemurs. This discrepancy means difference, okay, is explicable in terms of OFT. Okay, OFT, the core of our question, اللي هي the optimal foraging theory. The lemurs' greater reliance, يعني the reliance of the lemurs. What is the lemurs? Lemurs that are يعني that are okay. Lemurs are okay with lunar intensity, right? On vision means that higher lunar intensity benefits them more than it benefits the mice. Okay, nice. So lemurs rely on vision. So so they like the higher lunar intensity. They like it positive, okay, more than it benefits المايس, لأنه طبعا lemurs are using their sight in order to see their praise, they need the light. But the mice don't prefer that. This doesn't benefit the mice. So letter A, use بقى the process of elimination. Use the process of elimination. If you can prove it, choose it. If you cannot prove it, don't choose it. Okay, keep it in your mind, please. It tends to allow this one, optimal foraging theory. It tends to allow for a better understanding of the benefits of ecological circumstances than the costs. So here, one of the features of wrong answers is to have a what? A comparison that isn't there. It's invalid. يعني better understanding for the benefits more than the costs. I never have this kind of comparison between the benefits and the cost in general. Here in the يعني regarding better understanding. Why would I يعني better understand the benefits than the costs? The text didn't يعني explain or didn't show this comparison. So remember that comparisons that aren't found in the text, okay, can be one of the best signs of a wrong answer, okay? When you see the word than, if you don't find it there in the text, this kind of comparison, then this is a what? A wrong answer. Right. Letter B, it can explain why some species act in accordance with cost-benefit trade-off and others do not. Others, the word other or others, okay? I didn't say why some species act in accordance with, يعني consistently with cost-benefit trade-offs and others do not. No, in the text, we were talking about two species that go in accordance with cost-benefit trade-offs. One benefits and one doesn't benefit. Okay, it would cost the mice a lot if they go for a certain behavior regarding this this dynamic ecological circumstance, which is lunar intensity. Right, letter C. So D, A, and B are 100% incorrect. Letter C, it can account for observations of different species responding differently to similar ecological circumstances. Okay, let's analyze this one. Okay, let's analyze this one. Here, it can account the theory. That's the theory, okay? Account for observations. Yes, we have seen observations because the mice and the lemurs were observed, okay? Were found, okay? Observed, okay? Of different species, it can account for observations of different species. Different species, we have the mice and we have the lemurs. Responding differently, yes, one prefers the lunar intensity and the other doesn't. In similar ecological circumstances, and similar here was the lunar intensity. The lunar intensity was one intensity. Okay, so C can make sense, but I still have D. It may be weakened by the finding that the costs and benefits associated with a particular ecological circumstance vary by species. It may be weakened by the finding, يعني this one can be weakened by the finding that costs and benefits associated with particular ecological circumstance vary by species. Actually, the theory mentioned the behaviors vary by species. So this can't be weakened. So that by the process of elimination, we went for C, and this is how you guys can see that by filtering, using a kind of filtration, the process of elimination is a filtration process. You can filter. I might not be very sure about the right answer. Okay, it can be tailored in a way that tricks me. I cannot understand it, but what I will be more sure about is the wrong answers. That's why the process of elimination is a life savior, guys. Okay, so letter number what? Number 4 is C. Okay. Number 5 here has to do with which of the following most represent the function of the underlined sentence? Guys, you need to focus on the underlined sentence, okay, like what we did before. But in order to understand the underlined sentence, you need to read what is before, okay, what is after. Here we don't have anything after, especially that it is linked with transitions. Guys, SAT English section is all about transitions and tones. Transitions, tones, and modifiers, okay? Modifiers, I don't mean the writing question about modifiers, I mean adjectives, adverbs, okay? Guys, listen to this tip very well. Listen, please, because it will grant you يعني a bunch of marks. Look here. When I mention to you in the text, when I say a certain species, when the text is talking about a certain species, okay? Search for the name, يعني focus on the name of the species, or whenever the word the species occurs in the text, and see what adjectives here. The adjectives are what? يعني the adjective associated with this species. Did I say many? Did I say few? Did I say all? Did I say most? Did I say several? So anything has to do with numbers, anything has to do with numbers, anything has to do with adjectives, okay? It can be what can be the wrong sign, a sign for the wrong answer. يعني if I didn't say, if the text doesn't mention that most of the species, or all of the species, or few of the species, or the species are good, or the species is able to or unable to, and so on. If you can see such modifiers or such adjectives or adverbs, and can be you can be finding equivalent to these adjectives or adverbs in the answer, don't choose it. That's why we say extreme answers are unacceptable, like all, never, impossible, as long as they aren't found in the text, okay? So please care about adjectives, adverbs, numbers, in general, modifiers. The modifiers, either they are adjectives or adverbs. Okay, so the whole answer can be correct regarding the scientific information, but we're not testing you on science. We're testing you on English. Make sure that if the text is positive, then your answer is positive. If the text is talking about the majority of whatever, yeah, then the best answer must be talking about the majority, unless you have contradiction. Okay, so obviously here we have a contradiction. We have contradiction, but so we need to understand what is before in order to get يعني the meaning or the idea of the underlying portion. The 100 Days, first published in 1998, is a novel in Patrick O'Brien's Aubrey Maturin series, which includes 20 completed books. So this series has 20 completed books, okay? So some critics have found fault with the abrupt endings of the 100 Days and other books in the series. Okay, some critics, we know that the critic's role is to criticize, okay? Either to criticize or to praise. Here they found fault with the endings of the 100 Days and other books in the series. طبعا the series has what? 20 completed books, okay? They found a fault in them, in some of them, saying that they don't finish conclusively but arbitrarily stop. يعني they didn't finish conclusively, يعني comprehensively. They finish or they stop or they end randomly. يعني they didn't like the endings, okay? Suddenly. Abrupt means sudden, okay? They didn't like, the critics didn't like the endings of some books in the series, okay? طيب, but other critics, here there is a contrast between the view of those critics. طب here إيه? Negative. they found fault. يبقى definitely after but I would expect that those critics will have a more positive attitude than the previous ones. Other critics argue that the books should not be thought of as discrete texts with traditional beginnings and endings, but as a single incredibly long work, as if they are the 20 books are in single, supposed to be having a single or acting as if they are single incredibly long work, similar to other multi-volume stories such as blah, blah, blah. Okay, so يعني in order not to be criticized for their abrupt endings, the other critics said you have to deal with those 20 books as if they are one long work with one ending and one beginning and one end. Okay, so instead of several endings, abrupt endings. Okay, طيب. So those guys are defending the series. So my answer should be on behalf of those of the series. Okay, so letter A, use the process of elimination. It refutes. يعني it refutes, disproves. Refutes يعني disproves the criticisms of the abrupt endings of the novels by presenting a broader perspective on how the series should be interpreted. Can be. It provides evidence because it disproves the criticisms. It provides evidence to support the claim that the endings of the novels are arbitrary and inconclusive. Definitely no, because we have but, which is a contrasting idea, introducing a contrasting idea. It explains why the abrupt endings of the novels have been widely praised by literary critics. Actually, they were not praised. Before, they were not praised. It acknowledges a counter-argument to the claim that the novel's endings are arbitrary by offering a different interpretation of the series structure. This can be, طيب, what is the answer then? يعني I am stuck between two answers. I told you, this is usually the case. You have two answers, two incorrect answers. Obviously, they are incorrect. Two obvious incorrect answers and one trap and one correct answer. So I will ask one volunteer now to see. Now you're having this question in the test tomorrow. مثلا يعني يا رب يجي tomorrow يعني تبقوا عارفين الإجابة يعني إن شاء الله. So what we're gonna do in this situation يعني I told you have to compare them with respect to the underlined part. It refutes the criticisms of the abrupt endings of the novels by presenting a broader perspective on how the series should be interpreted, or it acknowledges a counter-argument to the claim that the novel's endings are arbitrary by offering a different interpretation of the series structure. What can be the best answer here? Let's go for a volunteer. ما شاء الله, many people are volunteering. Okay, يلا يا دكتور. سيف حسام. Are you our old Saif Hussam?
Yes.
Hi, dear. How are you?
الحمد لله مستعمل.
Yeah. طيب. Yes, dear. Can you tell me which you're
The
gonna...
choice A is exaggerating by saying refutes, because the critics didn't refute it, didn't disprove.
Yeah, they
So
argue only.
better.
They argue. They have a what? Another argument. I mean, another claim, right?
Yeah.
So you went for D.
Yeah.
Okay, so your point is that the word refutes, they didn't disprove, they didn't,
It's too much.
Yeah, so it's such a strong word. It refutes the criticisms of the abrupt endings of the novels by presenting, okay, presenting what a broader perspective on how they should be interpreted. Okay, so you went for D. Thank you so much, Yasif. Thank you so much. Yes, يا دكتور مروان.
Yes, miss.
Yes, dear.
Yes.
Which one you
I
went
went
for?
for A.
You went for A. Oh my God, like you're gonna fight now. Tell me why you went for A.
Because it was said the 1 minute shouldn't be thought في
Yeah,
السنتنس
this
shouldn't be
one.
thought as discrete texts. فهو قال في الchoice shouldn't be interpreted.
Shouldn't be in a thought of a discrete text, يعني separate texts, distinctive texts, or distinct texts with traditional beginnings and endings, but a single incredibly long work similar to other multi-volume stories, such as this one, Search of Lost Time. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's يعني we have two different that's how guys, that's how we get different scores. يعني we can يعني أكيد some of us can be tricked by certain questions, others can be going for the right answer. We will see. Now it's like let me choose another one to see whether he or she will support Marwan or will support um,
Safe.
Safe. Okay. Yes, Muaz. Muaz Muhammad. Can you hear me, Muaz? Is it Muaz? Okay, it seems like you have a problem with your mic, ya Muaz. Okay, let's go for Mustafa. يلا يا مصطفى النجار. Why we are not taking a young lady يعني جهاد. يلا جهاد. Go ahead. جهاد.
I chose A for the exact same reason.
Okay, you chose A. Okay.
Yes.
So that you took the side of Marwan. Okay. Muhammad Hussam. يلا يا محمد. Yes. يعني to be fair enough.
I also went to A because it like fits the text to the whole context of the whole text.
Okay.
When it said that it refutes the criticism of the abrupt endings, which is mentioned in the text itself. So it's as if it fits the underlined sentence to the whole text.
Okay. Thank you so much. And our Hazem, the last one بقى
Yes, teacher.
to say a word in this question. We answered this question before, you remember?
No, with this answer choices, I don't think so.
Really?
This,
طيب
the
يلا.
text, I know the text.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I will go with D.
D.
Because the different interpretation of the series structure. Because he said not to be thought of as discrete texts, but as an incredibly long work. So here he focuses on the text structure.
Okay. Thank you so much, يا شباب, all of you. You did a great job. Now it's a final thing. If you go for A, Marwan's team, raise your hand. If you go for A, Marwan's team, raise your hand to see how many of you. Okay. If you go for now, خلاص, lower your hands. Thank you so much. Lower your hands. Now, if you go for D, raise your hand. Now, thank you so much for your participation. It was like a poll. طيب, look here, guys. When you compare these two answers, you have to refer back to the underlined part, okay? يعني this is very important for me. But other critics argue means what? I have when I argue means I have another opinion, okay? that the books should not be thought of as discrete texts. يعني it shouldn't be thought of, I mean, you don't have to think of these texts as separate texts with traditional beginnings and endings, but as single incredibly long work, as if it's a very long work, similar to other multi-volume stories. يعني multi-volume stories with يعني an ending and a beginning and an ending, okay, not several ones, not separate ones. طيب تعالوا هنا to look at letter A. It refutes means disproves, okay, the criticisms of the abrupt endings of the novel by presenting what? A broader perspective on how the series should be interpreted. Is it what does it mean interpreted? Has to be what? يعني when you interpret or communicated, okay, communicated, okay. Their objection was regarding the endings, okay, the endings. And here those guys are presenting يعني are saying you don't have to يعني explain or to think of them as separate text. It's only one novel, okay. It acknowledges a counter argument. It's an argument. It's another argument. Counter because of but, okay. To the claim that the novel's endings are arbitrary by offering a different interpretation of the series structure. It's not how the series should be interpreted كلها to be interpreted. It's the يعني the underlying part is related to the structure, the ending, beginning, different endings, different beginnings. Is it one يعني one volume, several volumes? Okay, they didn't talk about how they should be interpreted. I mean, their meanings should be interpreted. Here, interpretation here is related to the meanings, not the structure. And the underlying part has to do with the structure. Okay, so letter D is the best answer. Letter D is the best answer. Hopefully, you guys can be what يعني can notice such يعني differences between the two answer choices. Another confusing question, which finding, if true, would most directly support the researcher's conclusion? Okay, the researcher's conclusion. Here, this is the part that we need to support. Okay, but we will not be able to understand it unless you read what is before. Concluding that net CO2 is likely to increase if warming hastens spring snow melt. And this one was confusing. Growing seasons in Alaska have been, I'm sorry, we took a long time in the previous question, but we're gonna try to finish quickly. I don't want you to spend the whole time before iftar with me here. فإن شاء الله within 15 minutes we're gonna end the session. Growing seasons in Alaska have been extending further into the year in response to climate warming. Okay, there is growing seasons in Alaska have been extending further into the year in response to the climate warming. There is a climate warming experienced by Alaska. Okay. Potentially enabling increased carbon dioxide absorption through greater productivity of marsh sainfoil, okay, plants and other vegetation but also potentially enabling increased CO2 output through greater heterotrophic respiration, means CO2 generated by the activity of soil microorganisms. So in order to understand that, you have to simplify. CO2 absorption by CO2, we have CO2 absorption. Okay, CO2 absorption. What absorbs CO2? plants. Okay. C plants. طيب, what else? And other vegetation, but also potentially enabling increased CO2 output through greater heterotrophic respiration. يبقى CO2 increase, okay, by what? The soil microorganisms, by respiration, microorganisms. Okay, nice. طيب, hydrologists, however, and her colleagues developed a model incorporating numerous inputs, years of solar radiation and snow cover data among them to evaluate the effects of warming on CO2. Now we know we want to see the effects of warming on CO2 balance in Alaska. The absorption versus the increase. Okay, the absorption versus the increase. Concluding that the net CO2 is likely to increase of warming if warming hastens spring snow melt. يعني كده I have to go for what? يعني an increase in CO2. Increase means يعني respiration more than absorption. Okay? Let's go for letter A. Early snow melt extends the period in which plant species such as CP absorb CO2, but has no effect on the rate of يعني when you increase the what? When you increase the plant species, that's the absorption. No effect on heterotrophic, يعني no increase, I mean no effect on changing. فكده we have more absorption. So letter A might not be the best answer. هنا more absorption. Okay, extends which plant species such as كذا absorb CO2 but has no effect. يبقى more absorption, which is not supporting the conclusion of increasing the CO2. Early snow melt slows the growth of plant species, such as CP by reducing soil insulation, and it by reducing respiration suppresses the heterotrophic. يبقى both are decreased. No. Early snow melt reduces the amount of soil moisture available for the growth of plant species such as SP. Okay, reduces the growth of the plant, يعني less absorption. And it raises the rate of heterotrophic respiration, يعني more CO2 in output, يعني increasing it. This can be an answer. Early snow melt amplifies, يعني increases the effect of solar radiation on growth of plant species such as, and on the rate of both what? Absorption and a output, CO2 output. فboth increased. لا, ما هو ده will cancel ده. Letter C is likely to be the right answer, where the C output is more in this case. Okay, remember that we're saying which finding. يعني you will not find the finding here. Which finding, if true, would most directly support, يعني which finding that can be related to the increase of the net CO2. This means that heterotrophic respiration should be more. And this is the only option when we have CO2 respiration more. Okay. Okay, I will ask, yes, Maria. Maria, yes, dear.
Okay. Shall I read?
Yeah, please.
Okay. In a recent study, Antonia, Olivia, and colleagues investigated the relationship between the people's music preference and then preferred listening volume. Participants listened to recordings, Beyonce, and led a whole lot of love, and others at their preferred volume and indicated their most and least favorite among the recordings. The researchers found that the participants listened to recordings they liked most at a higher volume than recordings they liked least. And given that the frequencies in all of the recordings were within the audible range of these participants, all of whom had clinically typical hearing, it can therefore likely that for the given participants, the
Okay, so we have what? يعني music preferences and the preferred listening volume, right? These are the two factors. And we found that in all participants, that is the most important part, guys. When we're dealing with an inference question, we have to focus on the end of the text. Focus on the end of the text. ولازم your best answer must be consistent with the end of the text, its tone and its elements and main elements and so on. Okay, here they said that the participants listened to the recordings they liked most at a higher volume than recordings they liked least. فيبقى high يعني preferred high volume, right يا دكتورة ماريا؟
yeah.
And given that the frequencies in all the recordings were within the audible range, they are within the audible range, يعني الرينج المسموع of these participants, all of whom had clinically typical hearing عادي, they are they have normal hearing. It is therefore likely that for a given participant ده, can you يعني check with me the choices?
Okay. Difference between the preferred volumes of the favorite and least favorite recording cannot be attributed to one recording being inherently harder to hear than the other. I think this is a good option. لأنه يعني they said إنه all of whom had clinically typical hearing. So
Okay, difference between the preferred volumes of the favorite and least favorite recordings cannot be attributed to one recording being inherently harder to hear than the other. Okay, I'll keep it. The other one.
relationship between the preferred volume of a recording and the participant attitude toward the recording cannot be attributed to its genre. This is not mentioned. يعني.
Out of focus, general. Okay, yes. Let me see.
Identification of one recording as the favorite and another as the least favorite cannot be attributed to the participant having prior familiarity with either recording. I don't know, we never said familiarity.
We never mentioned. Okay.
Fact that the preferred volume differed by recording cannot be attributed to the participant wanting to hear the favorite recording at a higher volume than the least favorite recording. This is a good option, but
Okay. The fact that the preferred volume differed by recording cannot be related to the participant wanting to hear the favorite recording at a higher volume than the least favorite recording. If you compare them, which one you will go for?
if I was in the test, I would go for A. I would go for D.
You'll go for D. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much يا ماريا. نور عصام, يلا يا نور. Tell me which answer you will go for.
Miss, can I quickly reread the text up?
Because we are running out of time, I'm sorry.
Okay, fine.
I'm so sorry يا نور. يلا أحمد يوسف, tell me which answer you will go for.
I think I should stick to D. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Fatima,
Miss, I went with A.
you will go for A. Do you have a reason?
Just because at the end of the text they were talking about the hearing issue,
Mhm.
they were like they had typical hearing, and anything that is between parentheses, you said before that it's important, so we should like relate it with the answers.
Okay, thank you so much. The Nada, thank you so much.
I'd also go for A.
Okay, thank you so much. Kinsey,
Yes, I went for A too.
okay. طب can you tell me why D is wrong? Kinsey, don't mute your mic. Okay, يلا Kinsey, يلا.
Yes, D is wrong because it's like the text says that they prefer the songs that they preferred. They wanted the songs to be at higher volumes.
Excellent.
So D is
Excellent.
like it's contradicting.
The opposite. Excellent. I wanted to hear the word, the opposite. That's the opposite of the claim. Here, the fact that they preferred volume differed. The preferred volume differed by recording cannot be attributed to the participant wanting to hear the favorite recording. How? This part is أصلا incorrect بالنسبة what is stated in the text. Now, the difference between the preferred volumes of the favorite and the least favorite recordings cannot be attributed to one recording being inherently harder to hear than the other. لأنه all of them, all the participants had clinically typical hearing وكلهم are within an audible range of these participants. Letter A is the best answer. So letter B, C, and D are, take care guys, from the opposite ideas. يعني letter D, it should be an obvious wrong answer because it contradicts the text. Okay. Let me go for this one also. Here, an inference question. Southwestern Kentucky, Livingston County is among the most rural counties in the United States. The U.S. Census Bureau classified it as 95.4% rural in 2010. Researchers studying populations of counties like Livingston often struggle to recruit and retain participants. Okay, they have a problem of recruiting and retaining participants and keeping them. Melissa Valerio and colleagues tested whether method called the Snowball sampling could improve recruitment and retention. يعني how to hire people and to keep them. Working in 2 rural counties, the researchers identified a small number of people who had the characteristics desired for proposed study and asked them to recruit additional participants from their social networks. يعني they recruited some people with the desirable characteristics for the proposed study and asked those participants to recruit additional participants from their social networks, يعني to recruit their relatives, recruit their friends, okay, and recommend them. Valerio and colleagues found that the participants recruited via Snowball sampling showed much higher retention rate than did people recruited by strangers, suggesting that يعني we can recruit, okay, يعني we can recruit those people, okay, and ask those people to recruit their relatives, okay, relatives مثلا يعني, okay, or friends. Okay, and they found that those people hired, okay, يعني by the participants or recruited by the participants have a much higher retention rate يعني than did people recruited by strangers. The Snowball طبعا method worked according to the text, suggesting that letter A, Snowball sampling is more likely to improve retention rates among rural participants than among non-rural participants. No reference for non-rural participants. People with relatively small social networks are inherently less likely to be recruited to participants in a study via Snowball sampling than are people with relatively larger social networks. Larger and smaller and large, small and large, you can keep it aside. Social networks can become large enough that two people can share a network, but nevertheless regard each other as strangers. I'm not talking about who can be regarded as strangers. It's not the focus of the text. Being recruited to participate in a study by someone with whom one is socially connected may impart a feeling of obligation to persist, to stay with participation in the study. That's it. So when you read an answer that has no that has an element that is not mentioned or referred to in the study, that's a wrong answer. When you feel like you cannot understand a certain choice, keep it. Don't eliminate it till you check the others. And when you see that there is a better answer than the one you were struggling with, so cross it confidently and move on. Don't waste time. Here in Annie, and this is a transition question, and guys, I can't stress more the importance of studying transitions and their groups and relationships and so on. Okay, so I will assume that ultimately is not clear for everyone. To that end means for this reason, and this shows cause and effect. Cause and effect. And hence is also cause and effect. Moreover is addition. Addition means same subject. Okay, يعني طبعا the transitions will connect two ideas or two sentences. So we have two subjects, the same subjects, same tones, the same tone. Okay, plus new idea. New idea. That's the addition. That's the meaning of idea. And I will assume that ultimately is not clear for everyone. Yani it's not familiar, and this can happen in the test that you don't know you know, a certain transition belongs to which group or reflects which relationship. Of course, I will tell you it reflects what. It's يعني a sequence or something like that. But anyways, I will assume that I don't know it. In Annie Diller's Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, where early on the author marvels at a single goldfish's delicate fins, but later winces when imagining a horde of goldfish laying and eating their own eggs. Dillard struggles to reconcile the complicated juxtapositions of the natural world. Okay? And there is something negative here. Nature's mesmerizing intricacy and pitiless harshness prove inextricably linked for Dillard, like two branches of the same creek. Two branches, two categories of the same creek, of the same species. Okay? طيب, here, for example, I will assume that I'm gonna eliminate B and C, right? Because both of them, they reflect the same relationship. So I'm stuck between ultimately and moreover. Ultimately, I don't know it. Moreover, you know, it shows a new idea. يعني after it, there must be a new idea. Okay? So we can, yes, go ahead, dear. Yes. Go ahead. That's Rahma, I guess. Rahma?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, dear. Have you seen this question before?
I haven't.
You didn't see it. طب what do you think? I guess she muted her mic.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
making.
okay. Wait, no problem. Take your time, but I can go for someone. Keep your mic open, no problem.
I can say moreover.
Okay, you said moreover. Okay, thank you so much.
Also, one thing, teacher, before you do, in the question for Alaska, what was the answer? I'm sorry. I know it's a bit off topic.
What was its number?
I don't remember the number. It was something about Alaska.
I can't. I don't know that.
Yeah, this one, growing seasons in Alaska. I want to see the answer.
Yes, see.
Okay, thank you.
Anytime. We will go for someone else quickly. Lamar, yalla Lamar.
I think it's supposed to be ultimately because moreover, we need two different ideas.
يعني new idea with the same tone.
Yeah.
Okay. Yusuf, yalla Yusuf.
I would go for ultimately here.
Ultimately. Okay, thank you so much. El Sharif, Bara.
Ultimately, Mr.
Ultimately.
Yes.
Ziad.
I'd go for ultimately too.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now, if you have this exam, this question tomorrow, may you please raise your hand if you go for ultimately. Okay, if you support the D, moreover, can you please raise your hand? Okay, now as I told you, moreover has to do with the same subject, same tone, new idea, same subject. Look at that. Nature's mesmerizing intricacy and pitiless harshness. Okay, that's the subject here. In the other sentence, the subject is Dillard. Okay. Okay. But obviously I'm not, or here the author. Okay, but it's not, you're not adding to the same subject anything new. Okay, we are saying that he is he ultimately means at the end, guys, at the end. Okay, at the end, so it can refer to a sequence, or especially that he has here mentioned marvels at single goldfish delicate fins, but later, okay, so early on, that's sequence, early on, later, then ultimately. So at the end. So by the process of elimination, you eliminated B and D. And then you eliminated moreover because definitely you don't have the same subject in both sentences. And you have certain reference to a sequence, and that's ultimately. Let's go for this one. And this one was confusing. It was even confusing for me. The prime meridian, the global indicator of 0 degrees longitude, established in 1884, was originally determined using astronomically derived coordinates. Okay, so the global indicator, this is the prime meridian, the global indicator of 0 degrees longitude, established in 1884, was originally, so the prime meridian was originally determined using astronomically derived coordinates. Okay, right. As decades passed, new calculations would reveal increasingly precise coordinates. يعني هنا كان determined by certain astronomically derived coordinates. As decades passed, new calculations would reveal increasingly precise coordinates, yet the prime meridian remained unchanged. It remained unchanged. Changed. So here, cause and effect. Specifically, that's an example or emphasis. Granted, that's concession or contradiction. Okay, and again, you know, of course, obviously, revealing what repetition again and again. يعني it doesn't have to belong to a certain group. If I don't know again and again, I will try the others. If they didn't work, I will go for again and again. So here when I say was originally, prime meridian was originally determined using astronomically derived or coordinates. As decades passed, new calculations. So new calculations, this is the subject here. And this is the subject here. Okay. For me to go for granted, I must find the same subject, different tones. Okay. Different tones or unexpected idea. Okay. So as decades passed, new calculations would reveal increasingly precise coordinates, yet the prime meridian remained unchanged. So for me, I will eliminate granted, and this was confusing for me because I thought there was a kind of contradiction, but I realized in granted, this is a concession. So how come we have to go for a concession talking about different subjects? Concession, the idea of concession, when I say مثلا, I was sick yesterday, however, I got the full mark. I took the test and got the full mark. But this is unexpected. This concession. There is a contradiction and an unexpected idea in the second sentence related to what was mentioned about me, I and I. Okay, this is concession. Specifically, example, moving from general to specific, this is not right because prime meridian is not general and new calculations is not specific or emphasizing. This is something and this is something else. To that end, this, of course, not a cause and this is not an effect. That's why, since these three cannot work, again and again can be related to increasingly as decades passed. Again and again, as decades passed, the new calculations would reveal increasingly precise coordinates. That's why this is like the habit of new calculations.